Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Magic the Gathering Avatar the Last Airbender crossover set. And we are talking all about the blue cards today. So this is a limited set review. We are only grading things in the context of limited. So that's draft and sealed, nothing about standard or commander, so no constructed formats. And I'm going to be putting all the blue cards on a scale from A to F. So A's are bombs. These are the best cards in your deck, the ones you show off to your friends and win you all your games. B's are cards that actively pull you into their colors in the draft. Think of cards that you'd see around pick 5 and you'd be like, ooh, I think blue is open. Let's go into it. C's are the majority of your deck. It's like the bread and butter. A lot of the, stuff that like you need for a functioning deck, but isn't too exciting. D's are cards that you hope you don't have to play. They work in a pinch, but overall you'd rather not have to put them in your deck. And then F's are cards you don't want to put in your deck under any circumstances. They're horrible, and they don't even work in the format at all. So we're going to start off with Watery Grasp, which is a single blue for an enchantment aura. It enchants a creature, and it says enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. And you can waterbend 5. Enchanted creature shuffles it into its owner's library. So water bending, this is the first time we're seeing it on the first card, so that's great. It's a new ability where you can pay 5 mana in this case, or you can tap creatures and artifacts and they help to pay 1 of each of those manas that you're trying to put into this card. So this ultimately is like a 1 mana removal spell. It doesn't tap the creature when it comes into play, so that's a big thing. You need your opponent to actually tap their creature for this to do anything. But the waterbend part where you just get to throw it back into their deck. So essentially 6 mana, you shuffle one of their cards into their deck, but you can turn something off for 1. The fact that it only costs 1 is very exciting. The fact that you can shuffle into your deck is great. And if it is tapped and you get this on it, which is what you would hope, it's really nice that they can't use it for many other things. They could technically still sacrifice it to something and get some value there, but they won't be able to waterbend, which is really important. There's a white card that makes it so creatures can't attack or block. And I think the fact that they could sacrifice it and also tap it for waterbending makes this one maybe a little bit better. But of course, it's really bad against like vigilance creatures, or sometimes you need it to stop your opponent from actually attacking on that turn, and this won't do that. It still gives them 1 more attack if it was untapped. So that's kind of a bummer. I still think I'm going to give this a C+. 1 mana spells can be very powerful, especially when they have some sort of removal. So I do like this card. This is C+ for Watery Grasp. I don't think it's the best common in the set as far as like blues go. Blue cards go. But yeah, I do like Watery Grasp. So C+. Next up, we have Octopus Form. It's a single blue for an instant lesson. It says target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until in a turn. Untap it. Cool. So this is a protection spell that also untaps something. It only gets +1/+1 until in a turn, so it's not a counter, so that makes me like it a bit less. But I do like 1 mana protection spells. They are quite nice. But ultimately, I think this is just a C. It having the lesson text is actually going to be a bit more important for this color because I think blue, red, and green care the most about having lessons in your graveyard. And there's also like a blue-red spells deck, so having cheap spells that, protect your creatures that, get bigger because if you have instants and sorceries or things like that would be pretty nice. So I would enjoy having Octopus Form in that deck. Also, this is good in green decks because you have big creatures that you could untap and block and stuff. But if we go into like blue-black or blue-white, I like this card possibly a little bit less. But I think it's C. You will be happy to play the first one of these, and then after that, they kind of falls off, I think. So C for Octopus Form. Next up, we have First Time Flyer, which is 1 in a blue for a 1/2 creature human pilot ally. It has flying. And it says this creature gets +1/+1 as long as there's a lesson card in your graveyard. Hey, like that last card we had seen, this is one of the small payoffs for that. But a 2 mana 2/3 flyer, that's amazing. That's really good. So I would very heavily prioritize getting some lessons into my yard with this First Time Flyer. This obviously goes into the white-blue deck, and there is like a 3 mana white lesson that like airbend something, so that could be kind of nice to do like turn 2 this, turn 3 airbend their play, attack with a 2/3, and then you just get to keep smashing them with the 2/3 for 2. So I like that a lot. This card's pretty good. Is it one that I'm really looking. Actually, I could. If you're doing the lesson type of thing, this seems like it could be quite strong, and it also flies. So then the white blue deck loves it. This is probably like a C to like a C plus. I think I'm just going to give it a C. But it could surprise us how good this card is. So be prepared for that. But just C for the first time flyer until we see how the format shakes up. Next up, we have Forecasting Fortune Teller, which is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 creature human advisor ally. And it says when this creature enters, create a clue token. Boom. Clue tokens are artifacts. You can pay 2, you sacrifice it, you draw a card. But the biggest thing is that we have waterbending in the set. We've already seen a card with it. So I think in blue specifically, we are really interested in creatures that come down and make artifacts, and then they both tap to help for waterbending things. I think this card is phenomenal, and it's probably going to be the best blue common. I don't really see how this can't be amazing. It gives you an extra piece of cardboard to tap for waterbending. You can draw a card which just replaces itself. It's a 1/3, so it's defensive, so you're okay tapping your stuff. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and I think this card's going to be one that people are fighting over for blue. I really like this, so much so that I think this common is a B-. Like Forecasting Fortune Teller, I'm going to say best blue common, phenomenal. I would be surprised if this isn't great. So B- for the Fortune Teller. Next up, we have Otter Penguin, which is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 creature otter bird. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, this creature gets +1/+2 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. So the blue-black deck cares about drawing multiple cards in a turn, specifically your second card in a turn. We just saw a card that makes it so we can draw an extra card because we have a clue. So that will work with this as well. Is this the payoff that we need for that deck? I don't think so. This feels like filler for the deck where it's like, I guess we're playing that 2-mana 2/1 that sometimes deals 3 damage and they can't block it. So that's cool. And maybe you surprise block people sometimes, but I think ultimately this is not a card we're hoping to put into our deck. I think it's just a card that's fine. In the blue-black deck, it looks like a C-, and then in everything else, it's probably a D. That's what I would say. So yeah, probably C- overall because you're probably just putting it in the blue-black deck. But I don't think White Flyers cares about it. I don't think Is It really cares about it. I don't think that you want this in the blue-green deck. So maybe this is just a D, actually. It looks like it fits into one deck, and that deck kind of wants it. Not even that exciting. So Otter Penguin, cute, but not very good. Next up, we have It'll Quench Ya, which is 1 and a blue for an instant lesson. It says counter target spell unless its controller pays 2 generic mana. This is just Quench, except for it has lesson subtype on it. So that's nice. I love this joke. It's so funny. In the show, Sokka drinks a bunch of cactus juice, and he says It'll quench ya a lot. And he also, has a little trip there, but which is just so funny. I love that they did this. It's so great, bringing magic words back into it and finding this perfect space for this. And Quench is pretty good, actually. So the 2-mana the 2-mana counter that makes it so your opponent has to pay 2 tends to be pretty good. This doesn't have anything else going on besides the lesson, which we've already seen some payoffs for, and I think blue-red cares a lot about, and blue-green does too. So I think most every deck will want to play this card. I think this is probably like a C+. Another contender for best blue common, but I still think that the Fortune Teller is just better than this. But good card. Definitely a good card. It'll quench ya. Next up, we have Iguana Parrot, which is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 creature, lizard, bird, pirate. It has flying and vigilance and prowess. So it's just a bunch of keywords, but you're happy having this in your like blue-white deck for flyers, as well as a blue-red deck would like this, obviously, because prowess. So you're doing some spells things. But, a Windrake kind of falls off. That you have to have some more stuff going on. So this probably looks like a C+, because you will want it in 2 specific decks, and then it's playable in blue-black, and then blue-green probably doesn't care about the Iguana Parrot. You got better things to do. But 3 of the 4 decks, okay, that's nice. So yeah, okay, C+ for the Parrot. Next up, we have Rowdy Snowballers. This one, I just love these cards. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 creature, human peasant ally. It says when this creature enters, tap target creature and opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. So this is Frost Links, just like straight up Frost Links. You get to tap an opponent's creature, put a stun counter on it. It's an ally, which is helpful for certain decks. And I do like this ability. It is really great tempo-wise. Either tapping down your opponent's flyer so you get to get in for more damage, or tapping down their big threat that's going to beat you up and you have a wider board so you get to get in there. There's a lot of utility here. The raw power of this card is, I still think Frostlinks is good. So yeah, this is like I think also a B-. Ultimately, it's between this and the Fortune Teller for what I think is the best blue common. I'm still saying Fortune Teller, but snowballers, don't sleep on this card. It is good, and I would be moving into blue if I saw this card come around. Next up, we have Flexible Waterbender, which is 3 and a blue for a 2/5 creature human warrior ally with vigilance, and it has Waterbend 3. It says this creature has base power and toughness 5/2 until end of turn if you waterbend it. What I really like about this card is that it works really well with firebending. So if you're attacking with this and a firebender, you have that mana for the entire duration of combat. So then you get to decide, okay, I'm attacking with my 2/5 vigilance. They have to decide what their blocks are, and then after blocks, then you can be like, and now it'll deal 5 damage to you. So that's pretty cool. You get something to do for free with your firebending mana, which, you know, I think you're going to be trying to look for places to put that mana anyway. Is it extremely strong? No, I don't think so. I like that piece of it. Like it's cool that you get to do that ability, but a 4 mana 2/5 that is sometimes a 5/2 specifically with the firebending thing, I don't think is strong. So I think this is actually kind of a bad card, but I like the flexibility of that. It's flexible, but I don't think it's good enough, and I don't know if we really want it in our deck, unfortunately. This isn't really the waterbending payoff I'm looking for. I have better things to do with that mana, I think. And so putting this card in my deck seems like almost a last resort. So I'm going to give this a D. I think Flexible Waterbender is not very good, and you won't really be playing this card. Next up, we have Waterbending Lesson, which is 3 and a blue for a sorcery lesson. It says draw 3 cards, then discard a card unless you waterbend 2. Oh, this is pretty good. Like, this works perfectly with our Forecaster because we get to draw more cards. It's just 4 mana draw 3 because we waterbend both our Fortune Teller and our Clue token. So this card seems pretty good. You only probably want one of these. I don't know how many waterbending lessons you could actually run, just because it's kind of expensive card draw. But 4 mana draw 3 is still pretty stinking good. And even if you need to discard something, I mean, you'll be able to discard a land or whatever. So it's probably like a C. I don't know if we're moving into blue because we see this card, but it's definitely playable. And, you know, if you can ever just waterbend so you don't have to discard a card, that's great value. Next up, we have Geyser Leaper, which is 4 and a blue for a 4/3 creature human warrior ally with flying. It has Waterbend 4, where you you draw a card and then discard a card. So Waterbend 4, you get to loot, which is pretty nice. And a 5 mana 4/3 flyer is a beater. Once again, I don't know how many of these you can actually play. I do think it's probably still a C though. Like, I don't think it's on the cusp of being not playable. You will have to deal with this card if you see it. We do have Lightning Strike in this format, so the 3 toughness is kind of a bummer. So it might feel like it actually moves down to like a C- just because it could just easily die to several different things. But the waterbend, like, even if it's like just sitting there, waterbending and being able to loot, like, that is more of what I would like to do with waterbending. When I'm attacking with firebenders and stuff, is just like looting and making sure I'm hitting either my land drops. But at this point, I guess you're just looking for gas. So I don't know. It seems pretty good, but still, you know, at a C range. Not excited for it, but we'll play it. Next up, we have Lost Days, which is 4 and a blue for an instant lesson. It says the owner of target creature or enchantment puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. You create a clue token. Cool. So 5 mana is kind of expensive to do this effect. A lot of times we're getting the 4 mana version where you're like, you know, they've either put it on the top or the bottom. The fact that it goes second from the top, that's actually a pretty big game. And you get a clue token, which means it works with our waterbending cards and our draw 2 deck. And it does just get rid of the threat for the time being. So I like this card. Little expensive, but I still think it's like a C+. I think you will actually want to play this. The lesson part does go a long way because you're probably going to be playing this in your like blue-green decks where you're like ramp, Lost Days, their biggest threat, get a clue, crack it to get more gas, keep moving and try to get all your stuff out. And the blue-black deck likes it as well. And so does, all of them. So, you can play the first copy. I don't know if you have 2 copies of this, it might be a bit too expensive to like lean on, oh, this is your removal. But it does get rid of stuff. And randomly enchantments. I guess some of the sagas before they go off, you could do that. But yeah, I like C+ for Lost Days. And next up we have Giant Koi, which is 4 blue for a 5/7 creature fish. It has Waterbend 3. This creature can't be blocked this turn. And it has Island Cycling. So I think that these land cyclers have kind of gone down in popularity. I don't think they're nearly as good as they used to be. And in most decks, you don't want to be you don't want to be like basic land cycling on like your second turn, right? You'd rather do a bunch of other things. In blue, you could hold up Quench or something, and then instead of quenching it'll quench you, you get to just Island cycle this. Though I do like the unblockable ability, because when you actually play this as a creature, 5/7 is very big. It blocks everything. And if you need to end the game, your opponent just can't block this thing. And then they have a 4-turn clock, or hopefully much less. So I think it becomes playable, and I'm going to give it like a C. Some of the other ones I feel kind of worse about. But this is one of those things where it's like, okay, we're at a board stall, we're doing some different things, and then your opponent plays the Giant Koi, and you're like, oh man, now they just get to hit me every turn. And Waterbend 3 is pretty cheap for this ability, because like you still get to play stuff. If you have artifacts, this is just unblockable all the time. Or you just don't have to spend your entire turn. Like, a lot of the times these abilities are like, hey, it's a giant serpent or something, and you can either spend your whole turn giving it unblockable or play a card from your hand. And this is like, no, I can do both. I could play another threat and I can give it unblockable, so I get to keep pushing the damage in. So I do like that, so it makes it much more playable, but I don't think we're like searching for this card. We're not seeing it in a pack and being like, ooh, oh, heck yeah, we got the Giant Koi. No, I think that it's just playable. Next up, we have the uncommons. We're starting off with Gran. Single blue for a 1/2 legendary creature, human peasant ally. It says whenever Gran becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. And non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast as long as there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. So this is a combination of like, it is a waterbending card because you want to tap it. You're probably not attacking that much with Gran. Not so strong on combat, but that's okay because, well, she's a grandma. But if you're waterbending with her, you do get to loot, which is very powerful. And you have an ability that cares about having lessons in your graveyard. So you could just be dumping lessons into your yard while you're looking for your lands so that you can get enough lands so you can cast some of your non-creature spells for cheaper. So I think Gran's pretty good. I think this is like a C+. Having 3 lessons in your graveyard is kind of a lot, because I don't know if all of them are fantastic. And so, what other cards are we playing that are non-creature spells in addition to the 3 lessons we already put in our yard? It just kind of seems like a lot. And the best part about this, I honestly think, is just like when it becomes tapped, you get to loot, which is pretty cool. But that just really gives it a C+. The second part seems just to be some gravy, which is fine, but C+ for Gran. Next up, we have Boomerang Basics, which is a single blue for a sorcery lesson. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. Well, the fact that this is a sorcery makes it like pretty bad. Bouncing something like a non-land permanent to, returning it to their hand is good. But because it's a sorcery, you can't save your own thing. Like, if your opponent's going to kill your creature, you can't save it with this. you only just have to decide, oh, I'm just going to target my thing to pick it up. It does work pretty nicely with the fortune teller. So like you could, turn 3, play the boomerang basics on your fortune teller, pick it back up, draw a card, recast it, get another clue. That's kind of cool. But I think ultimately this is probably like a C. It doesn't have as much utility. Like that's a very specific situation that it's in. But it also works with some of the other blue commons. So maybe it's better than I think. It feels like I want to use it on myself though. And it's weird that the boomerang is hitting my own creature. I think flavorly that's kind of strange. So yeah, I think it's just a C. I don't know if it's really bumping up. The sorcery part really hurts it for me. But maybe the lesson makes it good enough. Maybe there's enough payoffs that you do want to play like cheap lesson cards so that you have, 3 in your graveyard for all the payoffs. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to give it a C for now. Next up, we have Honest Work, which is a single blue for an enchantment aura. It says, enchant creature an opponent controls. When this aura enters, tap enchanted creature and remove all counters from it. Nice. It says, enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a citizen with base power and toughness 1/1. And you can tap, add colorless mana, and it's also named a humble merchant. So 1 mana for kind of a removal spell. It's not exactly a removal spell because you are taking whatever creature it is and make it a 1/1 instead of like a 0/2. Whenever it's a 0/2, we got to keep our eyes out because that's much better. But this is still a creature that can attack, and you also give it an ability to become a mana dork. So I don't know if this card is trying to, like, what happens when you play this on one of the land creatures, right? Like, it's just 1 mana stop earthbending, right? Because it taps the enchanted creature and then removes all counters from it, but then it also becomes a 1/1. So I don't think there's an instance in the card while it's resolving where it has no counters and also has 0 toughness. So I guess it just kind of turns one of their earthbended lands into a 1/1 that taps for colorless instead of colored mana. That doesn't seem very good. It does, get rid of... I like the part where it takes off the counters. Like, that is really helpful. Because sometimes with these cards, you, like, play it on a creature that's really big, but it's because it has tons of counters on it, and it makes it a 1/1, but it doesn't matter because there's so many counters that's really good. So getting rid of all of those is nice. But I think ultimately, I really don't like the you ramp your opponent part. That sucks. Like, hey, let's get rid of your creature, but now you're ramping into something else. I don't know. It probably has some utility, and it might work in a pinch. But honestly, it looks kind of bad. I'm just going to give it a C-, though. I don't think it's so bad you can't play it. Because it does stop, like, if there's a 7/7 trampler or something, you play this on it. It did what you needed to do, right? And for only 1 mana, you can't get too upset by that. It also taps it, so you get to attack for that turn. So I'm going to give it a C- because I don't think we want to look at this as like, yeah, great removal, because it's not. But it's a very interesting card. Next up, we have Master Paku, which is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary creature, human advisor ally. It has prowess. It says, whenever Master Paku becomes tapped, target player mills X cards, where X is the number of lesson cards in your graveyard. So, 2 mana 1/3 with prowess is just nice to have in some of your spell decks. I'd be pretty happy for that part. And then when you're attacking, I don't know if we're doing too much waterbending stuff with this. We could. But you want like a good number of lesson cards to mill your opponent? I don't know if we're milling our opponent out. So are we milling ourselves because we want to have instants and sorceries in our graveyard and we want to get our lesson cards up? I don't really know. Master Paku seems fine. I think I'm just going to give it a C. I think it's okay. I don't think the dream of milling out your opponent's really there because you can only have 1 Master Paku on the battlefield at a time. And I don't think you can have so many lesson cards that you really get to do much with it. So it's really just like a 2 mana 1/3 with prowess that kind of has some utility. So I think just a C is fine. Probably happier in the spells decks. Blue-red, blue-black. The blue-green and blue-white don't really want this card. Next up, we have Knowledge Seeker, which is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 creature Fox Spirit. It has Vigilance and says whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And when this creature dies, you create a clue token. Okay, this card's a nice little payoff for the draw 2 deck, right? Because like this is the 2-mana 2/1 as opposed to like the Otter Penguin thing, which is like, yeah, it's sure it gets good for like a turn, but this does grow pretty tall. It has Vigilance, so you can attack and you can tap it for waterbending stuff. Plus, it dies into a clue, which is fantastic. So even if you lose it early, it gives you a clue which helps enable the rest of the strategy. So I think this card's pretty good. I think this is like a C+ and maybe like a B- for that deck. Like it does work. The 1 toughness makes me a little bit less excited. So, you know, it's going to take a couple turns of actually triggering it for it to be like a good creature. But I would be happy to put this in my blue-black deck and my blue-red deck. And then the other ones, I don't really know if it fits in the other one so much. But definitely blue-black. So C+ here for the Knowledge Seeker. Next up, we have Benevolent River Spirit, which is blue-blue for a 4/5 creature spirit. Wow, that's really big. As an additional cost to cast the spell, Waterbend 5. So it costs 7. Okay. And it has Flying Ward 2, and when this creature enters, you scry 2. This is one of the payoffs for having all the trinkety tokens, right? If you're playing the Fortune Teller, like turn 2 Fortune Teller, turn 3 another Fortune Teller, and then play this on the following turn. That sounds fantastic. Probably not going to happen, but I do like, you know, this is a big payoff. Like if you could tap all of your creatures and your artifacts and stuff to play a 4/5 Flying Ward 2, Scry 2, that's great. I like this a lot. This is just a B. Like this is a solid B. Yeah, this card's great. I think it's really good. I'm excited to play this card, and this is what I want in my waterbending decks, and I want to play all the trinkety stuff so I get to play this card and win the game in the air with this sweet 4/5. Next up, we have Accumulate Wisdom, which is 1 and a blue for an instant lesson. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of those into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Put each of those cards into your hand instead if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. Whoa, that is a really nice payoff for the 3 lessons in your graveyard. 2 mana, draw 3 cards. Instant speed? We are so close to Ancestral Recall here. Like, so close. This is a really cool card. I think this is also just a B. Like, this card seems fantastic. Like, very good in the blue-red deck or the blue-black deck. All the ones that care about doing, like, playing removal spells and then having lessons in your graveyard. If I can get some of these early, I am pushing hard for as many lessons as I possibly can get in my deck. That's just so cool. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So B for Accumulate Wisdom. If this can be a draw 3, it's like busted. Like so busted. Next up, we have Waterbending Scroll, which is 1 and a blue for an artifact. You can pay 6 to tap it, draw a card, and it says this ability costs 1 less to activate for each island you control. So there is a cycle of these cards, not specifically artifacts, but cards that care about having 1 land type. This is the blue one, obviously, so you want to have a bunch of islands in your deck. If you are playing a mono blue deck, this card is busted. Like, straight up busted. I think if you're playing mono blue, this is like a B+, like one of your best cards in your deck. Because if you get up there and you just have 6 lands, you just draw an extra card every single turn. And it only costs you 2 mana to do that. If you're playing another deck, like if we're playing like blue, black, blue, red, and blue, green, I think this looks like you'd be excited, but a lot of times blue, green wants to splash for other colors as well. So it's probably pretty terrible in that situation. And then blue, white feels like you want to lean a little bit more white to get a little bit more aggression. So in some of the decks where you want to like have a bunch of cards because you want to be playing a bunch of spells, this could be pretty good if you're heavy blue and a little bit of red, or heavy blue and a little bit of black. Though I feel like the heavy blue into red feels the most reasonable for those things. I don't know if any of the other archetypes would be very happy to be just solid blue. Or if you're playing mono blue. So if you're playing mono blue, this is a B+. In the other decks, like 2 mana, Maybe you have 2 islands or 3 islands in play with 3 mountains. It's like 3 mana, tap it, draw a card. Still good. And it could get better as you keep going. And it helps you draw more cards if you only have lands. If you keep drawing islands, then you're like, that's fine. I guess it's cheaper now. And it also is just an artifact that could tap for your waterbending stuff while you're waiting to get a bunch of islands out. So I don't really know. It looks very, very powerful, but you do have to build around it. If you can't build around it, I don't think you want to play it. So it's probably like a D if you're not like heavy blue. But if you can get this kind of early and start moving into like, well, I'm almost all blue just with a little bit of splash, I think this card's gonna be pretty strong. I love when they make mechanics like this. I like having cycles of, hey, try to be monocolor. I think that's cool. So this card's sweet. Next up, we have Crashing Wave, which is blue for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you waterbend X. It says tap up to X target creatures, then distribute 3 stun counters among tapped creatures your opponents control. So you don't have to waterbend anything, right? If your opponent has a bunch of tapped creatures, you can just play blue, stun 3 of their creatures. That's still pretty good. And then if you waterbend at all, you get to tap a bunch of their stuff. So this could just win you the game. You're just like, all right, tap all your creatures, stun the 3 best ones. I attack basically for 2 turns in a row. I'm going to give it like a B- because it's very specific about when you want to do it. And it's a sorcery, so you're not like tapping your opponent's creatures on their turn and then putting stun counters on it, so they're tapped for 2 full turns. This really will just tap for your attack and then keep their stuff down. So the sorcery part makes it a bit worse, but I do think this is a good card and does buy you the time that you need. So yeah, B- for Crashing Wave. Cool. Obviously better if it's an instant. It's not a lesson either, but I do think it's a splashy effect. Crashing Wave, splashy effect. Next up, we have Katara, Bending Prodigy. It's tuna blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, human warrior ally. It says at the beginning of your end step, if Katara is tapped, put a +1/+1 counter on her, and you can waterbend 6 to draw a card. Sweet. So Katara obviously loves water bending because every time you tap her, she gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then at some point, you do just get to draw cards, holding up counter spells. And then when you either counter something or don't, you just get to tap your stuff to water bend. That seems really nice. Katara gets big enough, and then whenever you feel comfortable, you get to attack. And I mean, when you attack, you don't get the counter, but at your end step, you do. I guess that is kind of important that if you are doing the situation where you're holding it up, and you're like tapping everything for drawing a card if you didn't counter something, Katara does not get the counter. It's only during your end step. So then you want to be waterbending on your turn. So it actually makes that a little bit worse. But I still think that Katara is like a B. I think there's enough going on here, and I like the waterbend thing. Obviously, I'm picking all the cards that I like that are waterbending feels almost free. I know it's not, but it feels like it for when you're reading the cards. So like going like Fortune Teller into Katara into, waterbend something. Because then basically it's like turn 4, you would be able to draw a card because you already have 3 lands and 2 creatures plus a clue. I mean, there you go. And then maybe you boomerang something back to your hand. I don't know. I think we're going to win off of card advantage perhaps in this format. And this is a great card for that. So Katara gets a B. Next up, we have North Pole Patrol. It's tuna blue for a 2/3 creature human soldier ally. It says you can tap it, untap another target permanent you control, and waterbend 3. You can tap and tap target creature and opponent controls. I think this card is fine. The untapping another target permanent is cool. It like ramps you a little bit. I think the blue-green decks might be happy with that. I don't think we have any lands that tap for multiple colors. So that's not really, or not multiple colors, sorry, multiple mana. So it's not like you're untapping a land that taps for 2, which is usually when this type of card becomes really good. It's also like a pretty expensive tap ability. You have to tap multiple things to be able to tap your opponent's creatures. So I think it's okay. Ultimately, it's probably, I think, like a C. It seems fine, but it could be worse than that. But it also could be better than that. So I'm kind of in between of like I don't know if I'm really excited to play this card, but I could also see it being pretty good. So I think I'm just going to sit in the middle and say it's a C. Next up, we have Invasion Submersible. So it's 2 and a blue for a 0/0 artifact vehicle. It says when this vehicle enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's 3 mana bounce, and then you can waterbend 3 for its exhaust. It says this vehicle becomes an artifact creature, put 3+1/+1 counters on it. So it's a removal spell that eventually turns into a 3/3 creature if you tap stuff, and you could tap itself to do that. So it's really just 2 mana and tap this, or 2 artifacts and tap this. I like that enough. Yeah. I think it's probably actually like a C+. I like the bounce effect a lot on this, and I think that I would be happy to play this card in my deck. A bounce spell that turns into a creature is kind of cool. It doesn't go with any of the lessons and stuff, so we're probably not playing this in blue-red, but you could play it in blue-white, I think would be fine, even though it's not a flyer. Blue-black, blue-green could also do it. Yeah, maybe it doesn't fit perfectly in any of the color combinations, but I think its utility is good enough that you'll be happy to play this card. Next up, we have the Spirit Oasis, which is 2 and a blue for a legendary enchantment shrine. It says when the Spirit Oasis enters, draw a card for each shrine you control. And it says whenever another shrine you control enters, draw a card. There's a cycle of shrines. They're all uncommon. They kind of go by the same script that a lot of shrines do. These ones specifically care about enters stuff. So when more shrines come into play, as opposed to we used to have shrines that like they pinged on your upkeep. Which was kind of nice because you got incremental value. And this one, these shrines kind of want you to like airbend them out and then bring them back and kind of do like this pixie thing. So maybe the boomerang actually goes with these cards. Because like if you play the the boomerang basics on like the shrines, then you get to recast them and you get to draw cards and you get to do stuff. So maybe it goes in that deck. Ultimately, it feels like the shrine deck is probably like a 5-color deck. It's like base blue green, and then you try to like fix all your lands so you can play all the different shrines and get all the different payoffs. Usually, the payoffs that are really important are the green one that fixes mana, and the blue one because you want to be able to draw more cards because you need gas because you're spending so much time kind of wasted on this shrine stuff. So this one will be pretty important in that deck. If you don't have the one that draws you cards, it's bad. And if you don't have the one that kills your opponent, which are the black ones and the red ones, then the deck doesn't really work super well. Would we play this by itself? No. Like 3 mana draw card with the possibility of bouncing it to draw another card. It's okay. But the thing is, it's an enchantment, so it doesn't waterbend for you. You really have to be doing the shrine thing or doing a very specific thing with it for it to be good. So it's like a D. But if you're in the shrine deck, which is the 5-color thing, then it's probably closer to a B, and you really need it. But nobody else is going to want it. So that's kind of nice. It's sitting in that space where it's like this card doesn't do anything for anybody else. So the shrine deck should get it. That's what should happen, right? It's fine. So it's really just a D, unless you're playing shrines. Next up, we have thte, Spirited Glider, which is 3 and a blue for a 1/4 legendary creature human pilot ally. It has flying. It says whenever one or more creatures you control with flying attack, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So you kind of connive when you attack with 2 flyers. I think this card is nice. In the blue-white deck, it'll be really good because obviously all your other cards have flying. It only has 1 power for like a 4-mana 1-power creature in the air. Is like, oh man, should I just be playing like some of the stronger flyers that actually kill people? But the looting effect can be very helpful. And maybe you kind of like it in like the blue-red deck where you want lessons in your graveyard. I think it's all right. And you have to have another flying creature. It just keeps like going back and back and back. I wonder if I'd rather just have a card that actually like smacks them in the face. Like that common 5-mana 4/3 I might be happier with than this guy. It seems like it's a little bit too incremental value that takes a while. And you have to be attacking, and you know, you want to be racing if you're attacking like this. At least you get the counter before you hit them, so that's kind of nice. But I don't know. How happy are we discarding non-land cards after turn 4? Like, I don't know. I think I might actually get this like a C. I had it a little bit higher, like just as a C plus, but I think ultimately I'm not that excited for it, even in the white-blue deck. But I'm ready to be proven wrong, but I think I won't be the one to test this card. Next up, we have Sokka's Haiku, which is 3 blue for an instant lesson. It says counter target spell, draw a card, then mill 3 cards, untap target land. So if you are familiar with haikus, the text box is a haiku, which is just so funny. Like, what a great job. This is fantastic. As far as cards go, I don't really like it. 5 mana counter spells, and I really feel like you have to counter something. Like, it doesn't say up to, because it doesn't have all the caveats of other things, because it's trying to be like the haiku joke. So you have to have a counter spell. You have to have a spell to counter for this to actually do anything. It isn't like counter target spell or draw 3 cards, or, you know, draw a card, mill 3, untap something. And they're all kind of disjointed. It's like counter something, draw something, then mill, and then untap 1 land. Maybe you untap, like, the joke is that you untap an earthbended land, so then it blocks. But you have to counter something at their upkeep, so you can't even get, or not their upkeep. You have to, on their first main phase, for that to actually matter, and they won't even attack into it. So I think it's probably a D. I don't think this card's very good. I think it's really cool design, really funny, great for the memes, but not great for your deck. Next up, we have Ember Island Production, which is 3 blue for a sorcery. Choose 1. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it's not legendary, and it's a 4/4 hero in addition to its other types. Or you get to create a token that's a copy of target creature an opponent controls, except it's not legendary, and it's a 2/2 coward in addition to its other types. Clone effects or copy effects that don't copy the power and toughness feel bad to me. Making one of your creatures a 4/4, like 4/4 is like big, but you have to have a target. Your target still has to be there when this resolves. Same for your opponent, but you don't get to take, like, if they played a big bomb, you target their big bomb and yours is a 2/2 and theirs is huge. I think this card is very bad. This is like a D to like a F, maybe. I'm going to say D. I'm not going to be that mean about it, but I don't like it at all, and I hope I don't have to play this card really ever. Next up, we have Serpent of the Pass, which is 5 blue for a 6/5 creature serpent. It says, if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard, you may cast the spell as though it had flash. That's nice. And it says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each non-creature, non-land card in your graveyard. So mostly instants and sorceries, but sometimes enchantments and artifacts will be in there as well. We do have some, you know, enchantments that get sacrificed and stuff. But awesome. This is like the payoff you need for your Izzet deck. Like, you are looking for this in Izzet or in blue-black if you're playing Dimir, like draw 2, or you're rummaging and you're looting and putting lessons and stuff into your graveyard. The flash part is cool. That is very nice, but it just feels like extra. And just being able to play this as a 6/5 for blue seems pretty strong. I think this is probably like a B. You need this in those decks. In your average deck, it's probably not that good at all. Right? But you would be happy to play this in Dimir and Izzet. So I'm going to give it a B for those decks, probably a D in all the other ones. So it kind of, you know, if this starts wheeling, then you're like, okay, those decks might be open. But I think it is a good top end for those decks, and you'll need something to finish the game, and I think this can do it. Let's go to the rares, folks. We got Tiger Seal, which is a single blue for a 3/3 creature cat seal. It has vigilance. It says, at the beginning of your upkeep, tap this creature. What? Whenever you draw your second card each turn, untap this creature. Okay, so it's 1 mana 3/3 vigilance, busted. But you don't get to attack with it, like, ever? Okay. So you have it to block on the turn that it's played, but your opponent probably isn't actually attacking you on the early turns. And then it just becomes tapped, and it would just be tapped. And you just have to make sure that you can draw your second card each turn. I don't know. I don't really like it that much. I feel like this card is like, there's probably some use cases for it, but I think ultimately it might just be more of like a constructed card, and we should just stay away from it in limited. So I'm going to give this like a D. I think that you probably shouldn't play this card. It feels pretty bad, and I just don't like it. Next up, we have Waterbender Ascension. It's a 1 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, you draw a card. And it also has Waterbend 4. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So this is a 2-mana enchantment that says you can pay 4 mana or Waterbend stuff to make a creature unblockable. And then when you hit your opponent with enough stuff, then you get to have a Saboteur enchantment, which is the real one that you care about. It does say whenever a creature you control deals damage, not whenever 1 or more. So it does do the true Saboteur thing. Once you get the quest counters on it, you do get to hit your opponent, and you get to, Enduring Curiosity, draw a card for each creature that hits. So that's nice. And it also gives you, some evasion, which is kind of nice. It is harder to get this one up to the quest counters than some of the other ones, so that's kind of a bummer, but I think the payoff is there. It is kind of awkward that your draw 2 ability stuff, sometimes they want to happen before combat, so this weirdly goes in that deck, but also kind of doesn't. You might like this most in your like Flyers deck, because it's really easy for you to obviously get in. So it's probably like a C+. Maybe in the Flyers deck, it's closer to like a B-. And then maybe in a green deck, just the Waterbend part is... I feel like you don't want to play this enchantment if you just care about the Waterbend part. It just doesn't seem that good. But it's amazing in board stalls because you do get the upper hand there. I think it's probably just like a C+. That's what I'm going to stick with. I'm not really excited. I wish that it was easier to get the quest counters on it. Dealing damage to your opponent is hard to do, especially if you're in blue. Like, it's not just free, right? Like, it will take you a while to get there, and you might have to trade off some creatures, and then you might not even get... It, like, forces you to attack all the time. I don't know. Next up, we have the Mechanist, Aerial Artisan, which is 2 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary creature human artificer ally. It says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a clue token. What? And you can also tap it, until end of turn. Target artifact token you control becomes a 3/1 construct artifact creature with flying. So whenever you play non-creature spells, including like enchantments, artifacts, whatever, you just spam clue tokens. Amazing. And then they can turn into creatures. So as long as you have this guy, you're okay running like 10 creatures, 13 spells. That's great. The blue-red deck loves this card. Yeah. Waterbenders love this card. Control players love this card. I think this is like a B. It's a build around B for sure. I think this card seems pretty good. I like it. I like it a lot. And the fact that it does help you win the game as well. Oh, there's so much going on here. Yes, this is so cool. It could also be your commander if you're playing that format. But getting clue tokens basically for free. Yes, please. I love that. You do have to cast the non-creature spells, but that's not that hard. That's not that hard at all. All right. Next up, we have thte Chi Blocker, which is 2 and a blue for a 2/1 legendary creature human performer ally. It has flash, and it has prowess. It says when thte enters, tap up to 1 target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control thte. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is like a Flood Pit's Drowner that costs a little bit more, but it taps your opponent's creature for as long as she's on the board. That's really nice. Of course, if your opponent does remove thte, then they do get to untap. And so if they do it immediately afterwards, it's not like it got stunned or whatever. But still, 3 mana 2/1 flash, take out their biggest thing. and then it just is a prowess attacker. I think this is probably like a B. The fact that it does take something out is really great. It doesn't get to bounce it or anything, but it just, as long as this card's on the battlefield, your opponent's card doesn't work, that's good enough for me. I love it. Feels like removal on a creature, which is a B to like a B+. Strong card, thte. Yes, Tylee's awesome. Next up, we have Spirit Water Revival, which is 1 blue for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 6. It says draw 2 cards. If this spell's additional cost was paid, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw 7 cards, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Spirit Water Revival. So this is a divination that sometimes is like a wheel for yourself. Shuffling your graveyard into your library is actually kind of bad. I mean, it will be helpful for some situations, but I think ultimately you're not really happy to do that, because if you're playing this in like, is it you want to have lessons in your graveyard and you want a bunch of instants and sorceries in there too, so putting them back in your deck kind of sucks. Drawing 7 cards is phenomenal, and you're obviously hoping not to spend 9 mana on this. You want to be able to tap some of your artifacts and creatures to help pay for it. But I think this is probably stronger in other formats and not really great for draft. So I think it's playable. It's like a C, but I don't think it's like, oh my god, I got the card. Like I don't like it as much. I don't like it. It's hard to cast divination, and there are situations where you actually don't want to shuffle your graveyard in your library. And I think that the decks that would run this card and be able to actually utilize it to, you know, want the game to go long so that they can win with a card advantage, want to have cards in their graveyard. So, C. Next up, we have Yue, the Moon Spirit. 3 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature spirit ally with flying and vigilance. It has waterbend 5. You may tap it, and you may cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. Okay. That's pretty cool. But what non-creature spells do we want to like cheat out with Yue? Right? Like, in draft there are some, but for the most part they're not huge. Like in standard you get to like cheat out Omniscience or something, but like in draft we don't really have that ability. So this is a 4 mana 3/3 flying vigilance, which is like a C+, and maybe a waterbending thing. It is kind of nice because if you have a bunch of creatures and stuff, you do get to just play something for free. If you have a bunch of stuff untapped, let's say that you're just trying to counter spells, right? All your lands are tapped, and then this just lets you cast your counter for free. Okay. All right. But I think some of the things I want to cheat out are creatures. I think it's probably just like not that great in draft. I'm going to give it a C+ because there's some utility. But besides that, I don't think we actually want to play this card that much. It looks cooler if you get to like specifically think about what card you want to, cast for free. Magical Christmas Land is pretty fun, but I think in draft it's just not going to be that good. You're going to be disappointed most of the time. A lot of times when there's cards that let you play things for free from your hand, they just don't really, like Elvish Piper stuff doesn't really work very well. And this one doesn't even bring creatures. So, nice flyer, but that's about it. Next up, we have the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. It's 3 blue for a 5/5 legendary creature serpent. It has flash. It has ward waterbend 4, and says whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards. That is pretty cool. So in the blue-black deck, this is like, please, opponent, draw another card so I get to draw 2 and trigger all of my stuff. Also, waterbend 4 as ward sounds pretty good. You're like, oh, sick, they have to waterbend 4, but it actually makes ward easier to pay because then they don't have to pay mana. They can tap their artifacts and creatures and stuff. So the ward is just kind of a nuisance, but probably not that big of a deal. But a 5 mana 5/5 flash, you get to eat something almost definitely. And if your opponent's trying to like draw some spells or they like crack a clue on their turn, you slam this in, you draw 2 cards. That's pretty great. So this is like a B+. It doesn't have flying or evasion or anything, so I don't know if it is in the A range. And some of its abilities are a little, It is still really strong. I think I'm still going to keep it with this. I don't know how often, if your opponent isn't playing like blue-black or blue-red, how often are they drawing 2 cards in a turn? And it's really, so I think a B plus is a good place to put this because there are better cards, but at rare, this is probably one of the best ones for blue. I'm going to keep it as a B plus, but it could easily just be an A. I sometimes I'm hesitant to give cards an A. I don't know why. It just feels weird. All right, next up we have the Mythics. We have Wan Shitong Librarian. It's X blue blue for a 1/1 legendary creature bird spirit. It has flash, flying, vigilance. And it says when Wan Shitong enters, put X +1/+1 counters on him, then draw half X cards rounded down. And whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shitong and draw a card. Draw a card when they they search their library is pretty sweet. We do have a couple ramp things in this format. So we do have like a functional reprint of like Harrow and Rampant Growth. So if you're playing against like the green deck and you want to flash this in, make your creature get a counter and draw a card when they go to ramp, like that's kind of cool. But that part of the card your opponent searches is really like Commander or CDH type of thing. Other formats don't care about searching libraries nearly as much as those ones do, or Modern because you're going to fetch a lot. But the other part of this card is just like, sure, it's a 2-mana 1/1 flyer, so that's not very great. We're not happy with that. But if it's a 4-mana 3/3 flyer that draws you a card, that's pretty good. At flash speed, I like that a lot. And then if randomly your opponent searches their library, you're really stoked. But the fact that you can play this early or late, it reminds me of like Mother Goose or this is like a blue-green thing that happens a lot. Hydroid Krasis had a similar type of thing, right? Where you, it's a huge flyer and then you get to draw a bunch of cards and all that stuff. So this kind of goes in that category, which is an A. This card's awesome. Take it when you see it. This is a strong card. Being able to sneak it into spots is really nice, but very good. Wan Shitong, awesome. Next up, we have the Legend of Karuk, which is 2 blue blue for a saga. It has 3 chapters, but the first 2 are the same. You scry 2 and then draw a card. So 4 mana, scry 2, draw a card over 2 turns. Pretty nice. And then the 3rd chapter, you exile this card and return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. And it is Avatar Karuk, which is a 4/3 legendary creature avatar. It says whenever you cast a spell, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with this token can't block or can't be blocked by non-spirit creatures. So it essentially has like Shadow, but for spirits. And then it has Exhaust. You can waterbend 20 to take an extra turn after this one. All right, let's break this down. First up, you just get to 4 mana draw 2 cards that you get to kind of pick. Good. That's strong over several turns. Then, because you drew those extra cards, you have cards to cast once this is a creature. You get some 1/1s. Like every time you cast a spell, any spell, creature spells, artifact spells, instant sorceries, anything, you get a 1/1 that can't be blocked, basically. That's amazing. Like that is the card. Those are all fantastic. That gives you an A. Right there, I think you're happy with all of those things. You get more pieces of cardboard. You get even more pieces of cardboard. You kill your opponent with the new pieces of cardboard that you got. Awesome. You can completely just erase the Exhaust Waterbend 20 thing to take an extra turn after this one. Yes, it does pump out a bunch of 1/1s, so you could waterbend 20, like you will eventually get there, but I think you're just going to win the game before that happens, so don't even keep that in your mind. There might be a time where you end up being like, okay, well, I randomly have 8 lands now plus 12 permanents, and then that happens, but if you have 12 permanents that are all 1/1 unblockable creatures, or most of them are, you're just going to win the game. So just attack. Just attack with them. This card seems very busted in that sense. Unfortunately, they aren't chumpers, right? So if you're behind, it kind of sucks. Like you have to wait 2 turns to then play this card and then make some 1/1s that don't block. So that kind of sucks. But I do think it's still an A. I think you're really happy to get these tokens, and it does a lot of the things that you need it to do. So I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of Kuruk. And this is our last card for all the blue cards. This is the last one, and it is a lesson. It's called The Secret of Bloodbending. It's blue, 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 and as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 10. Holy moly, 14 is a lot. But it says you control target opponent during their next combat phase. If this spell's additional cost was paid, you control that player during their turn instead, and then you exile Secret of Bloodbending. So immediately, blue, 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 blue is like an impossible mana cost to use. Unless you're mono blue, playing mono blue stuff, you're playing the water scroll, you're doing all that stuff, then it's possible, but I don't know if that's great. Really? Controlling your opponent during their combat phase is kind of funny. Because they still have, like, usually the strength of controlling your opponent's turn is that you get to play their spells and, like, kill their own creatures with their own removal spells, run their small creatures into your blockers, and then you eat them and all that stuff. So this gives you, like, the combat portion of that, but they could, they have the ability to spend mana on their first main phase to cast spells the way they would want, use removal spells on your creatures before you get to just cast their stuff, because you still control them during their combat phase. You still get to have their hand, you still get to play their cards. It just has to be instant speed stuff. If we're just doing the blue, blue, blue version, I think that trying to actually control their entire turn is a little bit too crazy, and that's probably just not going to happen ever. And so it's better just to not have this card in your deck altogether. But the combat phase part is kind of interesting. But ultimately, I think this is like a D to like. This is probably an F. You know what? I want to say D because I would love to see it happen. It seems so cool, but I think this is probably an F. I think unless you're mono blue, you shouldn't play this card. And even if you are mono blue, I don't know if your creatures are going to be big enough to run their creatures into yours. And I just don't think... I think it's a really flavorful, cool-looking card. It's kind of like the Saka's Haiku, where it's like, man, this card is so cool. I love looking at it. I love reading it. I don't want to play it, and I don't want to put it in my deck. And I think Secret of Bloodbending does even less than Saka's Haiku does. So I just don't think you should play this card at all. And I don't think you should put it in your deck. Unfortunately, even though I think it's really cool, and I like it a lot, I don't think you should play this card. Kind of a sad note to end our blue discussion, my blue thoughts on every single card that is blue in this draft format. But folks, let me know what you think about Secret of Bloodbending in the comments below. Watch the other videos. I have one for every different color, gold, and the color that's the bonus sheet. So check all those out. I'd love to know what you think. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Bye.